Three. All right, welcome to the first episode of the Dune Over. Why are we calling it the Dune Over? Well, Jen and I, our first show we ever did together, it was awkward. And
maybe just a little bit awkward.
Technically, I didn't think we did the best job on it. There's someone on the show with us that I dislike heavily, and I wanted to get rid of that episode altogether, but you won't let me. So
it was a good episode. I thought it was a good episode.
We have a mutual love of Dune that actually brought us together. And so we're going to talk the book. Yes, some of us have Dune tattoos, which I was just discussing with Cinia. That was a lot of them for this first chapter. So I am Dan, your host, joined by Jennifer at Comic Books Will Break Your Heart, or Comics Will Break Your Heart on YouTube. And from the House Atreides, we have Sid joining us, who you've heard me talk about many, many times. She is the Kwisatz Haderach of my life. And book noob to this series, we have Cinia. Cinia reads, Queen of Hot Takes. You can find her reviews of comics, books, sometimes horror on But Why Though? And you do many, many podcasts now, JoJo's Bizarre Adventures or World, or I can't remember.
Yeah. We just paid our editor for our first episode, so be on the lookout. That's soon.
Sid used to write for Freak Sugar, doing comic reviews back in the day. Now she's an animal rescuer.
Very noble work.
I am not one of those stray animals, by the way. Just putting that out there. Before this preamble to the book, so it's an older book. It's from the 60s originally.
65.
So there are some parts of it that can be troubling currently. There's societal changes that happened. So that's kind of like a preamble warning of you might get to parts that, maybe triggering, I don't know, like just troubling, like the indigenous species kind of thing, life, people, the great white hero coming in to save everyone.
But that was part, I don't want to get too much into the series, but that was very deliberate on behalf of Frank Herbert, because he didn't want the brave hero to necessarily be like the hero. I'll get into that maybe later. Maybe that'll be like episode 4 or 5. This is just the first chapter today, right?
Yes, the first chapter, which everybody pay attention to the beginning of the chapters, because there's always a little excerpt from Princess Irulan and her discussion of her books, which by the end we'll learn she loves books. So Cinia, since you're the first time reader, let's dig into your thoughts.
Okay, so I want to preface this by saying I did try to read it like over the summer, because like the day that they released the like Dune pics of like Oscar Isaac and Timothy Chalamet, I was kind of like, So like I thought about it, and then like at like 2 a.m. that night, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna read that book. And so I bought it on Kindle, and then I tried to read it over the next 2 days, and I got to page 60, and I was like, maybe I'm stupid, and then I like stopped.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
I was like, I'm dumb, I think. Actually, I just think that it was like, maybe I don't like sci-fi. So this is obviously a better experience now, and I'm really paying attention, because like I think I was just like, I don't know, just like tired, and I'm just like, bomb gomber, and I was like, what are these words? I was like, and I was reading it on Kindle, so like I couldn't like skip to the back to look at like definitions or anything like that, and I was like, I purposely think I'm trying to be confused. I think he's doing that on purpose, like fishbowl, like lens, like you as a reader are supposed to feel like Paul, like fish out of water, like you're confused and you're trying to learn all these new things, because he's just being thrusted into that role of like, you're going to do this, and you're going to go there, and you're going to be our savior, and blah, blah, blah. So this is better. Now that I have a physical book, I enjoy it a lot more and have caught on to a lot of things.
This book used to intimidate me. This book used to super intimidate because I was like, I'd look at it, I was like, there's a glossary of words and a dictionary. Holy shit. I don't want to have to keep flipping back and forth. And right away, when we meet the Bene Gesserit Reverend Mother, right away she's using words, and I'm like, hold on, I don't remember what this means.
But I can say that this first chapter is pretty badass, not gonna lie. I mean, there's like, I have issues with it, but like, whatever.
I know Jennifer always said like it helps to have actually kind of watched the movie, so in your head you know what the characters kind of look like, somewhat, or you get an idea of what they look like.
I feel like Game of Thrones was kind of like that for me at first, where it introduces you to so many characters and so many different things, and the first chapter can be really confusing. But I think, you know, horrible last season aside and whatever, you know, Game of Thrones season 1 was still pretty good. But I think having a visualization of who the characters are, it's much, much better.
Unfortunately, David Lynch's Dune is the one I always go back to just because of Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
He'll always be Gurney Halleck.
Kyle MacLachlan has his titties out, so I think that's a win for me.
Does he?
Well,
yeah, there's like pictures. There's like pictures of them on set where it's like this, like it's like a meshing. There's like meshing and it's see-through, but there's still like solid blocks of like color. And I was like, what is this? What is this movie? I love David Lynch. I will admit, but that's one movie I'm kind of afraid to like go, because he always talks about how it's like the saddest thing he ever worked on.
You have to watch it once just because of Sting. Sting Nicolas Cage's the end of it.
Fade Routha, right?
Yes. I will kill him!
That's a fantastic choice. In that movie, didn't they also make up some weird kind of weapon that like the Fremen had?
The voice, they shot it out of their weapon. Like,
is that what it was? They used a weapon for
they would
it?
go, Morty, and shoot.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did. 100%. It was like a sonic weapon, but using Muad'Dib. And they had like Janet Jackson tore microphones where they would amplify the voice from. It was like Rhythm Nation, except with still suits.
I mean, that is a deliberate choice that was made. Very
much.
Quite a choice.
And it's so sad, you know. I feel like every time we talk about Dune, I always have to talk about Jodorowsky and how, you know, So Jodorowsky's Dune, for anyone who doesn't know about Jodorowsky's Dune, he wanted to make a film adaptation of Dune in the late 60s, early 70s, basically blew most of the money on like production and doing all of these things. Drugs, assembling this dream team who he said were his spiritual warriors. He was going to pay Dolly like $100,000 an hour to
the Emperor Shaddam.
Yep. Like this dream team, like I think was it Pink Floyd who was going to be doing some of the soundtrack. He like literally just H.R. Giger did like set design for the Harkonnens.
Their imitation.
And man,
H.R. Giger.
And so his name is pronounced H.R. Giger, and I have it embedded in my brain. It's not H.R. Geiger, it's H.R. Giger, and I can tell you that because embedded in my brain, I watched a documentary with him, and he's like, Giger, H.R. Giger. So that's my...
The Xenomorph, like the designer for like the Xenomorphs? Okay.
Yep. So he was designing, and man, he just got like this dream team and assembled Jean-Gerard Mobius to do the basically like a shot by shot storyboard for it through some 3,000 pages, and blew the whole budget. Basically went to the producers and was like, here's this great film that I'm going to make this 14-hour film, y'all. And they were like, actually, no, you're not.
The story gets better because the guy who eventually wrote Alien, Dan O'Bannon, he kidnapped him. He told him to meet him in Paris, got him so high and never let him leave.
Yep.
He was writing his wife like, I'm still in Paris. I have nothing with me, but I'm staying with Jodorowsky. Like, just, it's a crazy fucking story. Mick Jagger was going to play Duke Leto.
Yeah.
Mick Jagger was?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's so strange.
Acceptable.
And this Jodorowsky literally describes what was going to be his like film adaptation of this as you are on drugs, but you're not taking drugs and you're just watching this 14-hour like epic movie. And then they said no. And you can see like basically what would be screenshots and what would be the movie that never got made. You can see this movie in Star Wars, Flash Gordon, Fifth Element, you know, we talk about the Inkle. So anyways, Dune inspired, like, I don't know, watch David Lynch's Dune, read the book, watch Jodorowsky's Dune.
It's on Amazon Prime Instant, both of them.
Yep. So that, to me, that's the reading, watching order is, I would say maybe David Lynch's Dune, then read the movie, or sorry, read the movie. Read the movie. Yeah. Watch the Dune movie. Read the Dune book, watch Jodorowsky's Dune, and then maybe the sci-fi series, and then go from there.
The spice must flow!
Yep. I say that all three of us, I say all three of us ladies here should be called the Spice Girls. And I guess you can be an honorary Spice Girl as well, Dan, if you really want to.
I represent the Spacing Guild.
You need spice?
I do need spice.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Dan and I have the same tattoo.
Yes.
Like in the same spot as well.
Yeah.
That's what I told Sid. I was like, Sydney, I was like, yeah, three of us have things from the first chapter. Go ahead, sorry.
Oh no, it was like, if it makes you feel better, obviously I tabbed and obviously I highlighted and annotated as usual, and I have purple stickies are for like quotes, and the only thing that I highlighted was, I must not fear is the mind killer, fear is the little death that brings total obliteration, because I was like, damn, that's like hardcore.
That's the one. Yeah.
You recite it as you wash your hands because it's the proper length.
Yep, 20 seconds. Yep.
Good. Yeah, I didn't care for like the like other two sentences that follow, but I was like, those first three ones were pretty good.
I think it does get a little bit like more obscure, but the last part, to me, the whole thing is incredible. Where it talks about like, you know, only I will remain. Like that was the line that got me. So that's why I've got all of it wherever it is.
I love it.
Sid, so on your reread, anything new to you? Anything stand out differently?
Yeah, so there is one. First of all, I want to say I'm really glad we have a first-time reader with us. I'm excited to see whether or not you grow as frustrated with this book as I did the first time I read it. Because I genuinely did not like it for probably like 100 pages because it made me feel stupid. And there's all these things brought up, like you mentioned, like characters are being introduced, but more so than that, I think it's more like things are being mentioned in passing. Like just in the first chapter, they mention like CHOAM contracts and like the Landsrad, like in one sentence with no context whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
No, they drop you right the fuck. They drop you right the fuck into this world, and it's just like, here you go. Like
yeah, and that just continues on until eventually, like everything morphs together in like a very, very perfect way. But for I don't know, maybe 100 pages, nothing made sense to me. And I did not like the book, and I was like forcing myself to get through it. So hopefully your experience is better, but I'm really glad that we have you here for your like first reader insight.
I stopped at page 60. That was my threshold. I was like, you know what? Fuck this book. And I just was like, bye.
That's fair and valid. Like I was basically reading it out of spite after that point. Just like this book's not smarter than me.
And I think
I know what it wants me to think.
I think a lot of that too is that like the style of the writing as well, because it goes back and forth between different readers' emotions. Like even just rereading the first chapter, like different emotions from different people, right? Like you get Paul's thoughts You get Paul's thoughts, you get Lady Jessica's thoughts, you get like everyone's point of view.
Yeah, it's that weird kind of like omniscience that is a bit off-putting for sure.
John, you read the book. Read along with us.
Yeah, so we're going chapter by chapter. So I think that like that's doable for me even. You know.
Chapters are short.
Yeah, it may take us 2 years to get through this, but whatever.
Well, maybe we can kick it up a notch into like 2 or 3 chapters per show, because it would be cool to finish it before the movie came out.
Sydney's like, I can't commit. I cannot commit to this weekly.
Actually, no, I think I will, because Mondays I'm usually free, and I realize now that like the reason I was like no is because it was so late at night and I didn't know how like camera quality would be. Except I realized that I have like a really, really like powerful bulb in my, like I have basically like an industrial like book light at like my, like, cause like right behind like my, what I'm filming on like is my bed. And so I realized like, oh wait, I can like do stuff at night now. That was the only reason, because I'm always free on Mondays.
Taylor, you're right. This audiobook is terrible, but I dare you to try and do Wheel of Time, because I tried it. It's Sominex, man. It like put me right out.
Wheel of Time, like Brandon Sanderson?
No, Robert Jordan.
Robert.
Oh, okay.
Brandon Sanderson, I think, took over later on.
I've tried to read and also listen to Wheel of Time several times and have never been able to get into it. Can't tell you why, but
everybody says that.
Yeah, but maybe it's the same way with Dune. Maybe I just have to like whatever movie or whatever they're going to do to come out with it. If they do, then
yes, John, chapter 1's tonight.
Yep. So tonight it's the inaugural episode. So, yeah, chapter by chapter, maybe a little bit more. We'll see.
If you really want to get disturbed, listen to Game of Thrones on audio, where they have this posh British man doing all the sex scenes. And it gets real dap.
So
it gets real dap or it gets real whap.
Oh no, dap! Like you hear him going, and then he used his tongue.
Don't kink shame.
I actually have a funny thing. So Christmas of last year, I got like an Audible like free trial. So like with that, I used the credit for the first Game of Thrones book for the audio. And I think his name is like Richard Richard something.
Oh, Richard Dotrice.
Dotrice, that's what it is. That he's the person who narrates all the books. And he's a great narrator. I like his goofiness when it comes to the books, but it's been, so we're in September now, and I'm like 30% through the audiobook, and I just bought like the first 5 books. I was like, I can't do this. I was like, I need to just read them. I'm never gonna get it done.
We don't kink shame on this channel.
We don't. No, never. I think too with Game of Thrones, there isn't clear chapters, so it's not like chapter 1, chapter 2. It's just all written by perspective. So if you stop at one point and need to figure out where you're at, like that gets a little bit hard. And I think Wheel of Time is the same way with the audiobook. Like it's person by person, their perspective.
I'm kind of sad that Dune's going to come out and Sid's not going to be here to watch it with, because when Gambit and I went to see Infinity War with her, it was an experience. The hand gestures, the putting the hands over the face, and then like, oh my God, he's beautiful. Oh my God. Like the Black Panther trailer played.
Oh, yeah, that checks out.
Yeah.
I mean, look, you never know where my golden path will take me.
Oh, the golden path.
Maybe I'll be there, maybe I won't.
You guys are getting too spoiler alert here. No, just kidding.
I did want to say, so there's a thinly veiled spoiler that I've never noticed before in the first chapter, when he's describing what the Reverend Mother looks like, and he's like, he has Jessica's oval face, and he has the Duke's black hair, and he has the unnamed maternal grandfather's hairline. That is a spicy one. Just chucking that in there in the middle of a description.
Yeah.
I never noticed that before.
Right back in a minute. I gotta get something real quick.
There's a lot of like foreshadowy things in this first chapter. And I'm sure I didn't even catch like half of them, but I think all of my orange tabs, or I only have one orange tab because I think that was like the most blatant one that I was like, oh, interesting. Oh, so like on page 17, he says like after he's done the thing with that fucking witch lady. I don't know. How do you pronounce their names?
Fucking witch lady.
Yeah, just say fucking witch lady. We all know who you're talking about.
How do you say it, Jen? Because I say Benny Gesserit. I know everyone says it different.
Bene Gesserit, like Benny and the Jets. Benny Gesserit. That's how, I sing songs every single time. But I don't know if that's... are you talking about the Reverend Mother Mohan?
Yeah.
Is her name?
Gaius Helen Mohayim.
Bene Gesserit?
Yeah.
Bene Gesserit. I don't know. But it was on page 17, and he was like, Paul felt that he had been infected with terrible purpose. He did not know yet what the terrible purpose was. And I was like, what an interesting word. Infected. That specific word. As if like...
Foreboding.
It's very ominous. Very like, oh... spicy, interesting. And then all of my blue ones are world building stuff, and like literally it's the same page, and like what the heck does it mean, like man's minds put into machines? What the fuck? What?
That's not even world building. That's like prequel building, which they don't like throughout the entire series of Dune. They never really cover that.
They just referenced there was a crusade that happened.
Yep.
Butlerian Jihad. And they talk about jihad's mentioned a ton in this book.
Mm-hmm.
But like this is the first mention of it. But there's weird thing because she mentions that, and then I love where she's like, this test is to see if you're an animal.
To see if you're a human. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And like I hung on that for a while. I was like, what the fuck is she talking about? Like literally I'm going, is there something like it being this supposed quiz out Haderach the first time I read it? Is he going to become a beast? Like what happened?
It made me think of the and I hate myself for not remembering the name of the test in Blade Runner, or Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? Like it made me think of that and thinking
replicas.
There's a name for the test, and it's escaping me right now. Let me do a.
You see a turtle. You see a turtle upside down. What do you do? The Voight-Kampff test.
The Voight-Kampff test. So it reminded me of that because, like, exactly what you were saying about how, like, man put their mind into machines, and then there was the laws written so that the that no, what was it? That no machine could be made to.
Like made in the image of
made in the image, or made to appear like a human. So a lot of that, like technology without technology, is like very subtly sprinkled into like the first portion of the book. So you do see like a little bit of that, but it doesn't go into the whole jihad very much. So when I heard her say that we're trying to figure out if you're an animal or a human, it made me think of the Voight-Kampff test from Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep?
I was actually thinking a lot about Blade Runner when it came to that, because it reminded me of like the replicants of like whether, because like the test of like whether he can like feel pain, and then he was like, well, what do you mean? And then she was like, well, some people who aren't humans will still feel pain, but they won't extract that fear that like humans have. And I was like, bro, what is this Blade Runner right now? Like, what are we talking about here?
Know your own name off.
And then who's doing the remake? Like,
Denis Villeneuve.
Yeah.
Which I love him. It was at the IMDb boat a couple years ago, where he didn't even get given Dune yet. and they were talking to him as Kevin Smith on this ship during Comic-Con. He's like, "What's a movie you want to do, man?" He goes, "Dune. I see David Lynch's. I respect, but it's not Dune."
I was reading
months later.
I was reading the Empire article that he where they interviewed him, and they interviewed Zendaya, as well as Timothy Chalamet about the new movie, and he was talking about how he's wanted to do the movie for a very long time, and that all of the actors like have a very like almost personal connection to it, and how Timothy Chalamet actually set up alerts that if the movie was going to get made, he wanted to be a part of it. So I thought that was pretty interesting too. And another thing that I found out, the woman who is playing the Bene Gesserit, Mohaim Gaius
Charlotte Rampling.
was actually in Jodorowsky's Dune, supposed to play Lady Jessica.
Oh, what?
Yeah. So I thought that I didn't really realize that, and I thought that was pretty interesting.
We still don't have we don't have a Fade cast yet still. So I'm wondering if he doesn't appear till the second half.
Yeah. I think that it would make more sense. Either that or he won't play as big of a role for like a big name.
Watch, it's Brad Pitt, like gets back in Fight Club shape.
Ooh, yes, please.
He's supposed to be 16.
Okay.
Every time I think about, I don't know, the slow blade penetrates the shield. So Brad Pitt can, I don't know. I'm thinking about Brad Pitt's slow blade, man.
We'll see. I am super stoked that they made Liet Kynes a woman.
Yep.
That was something Villeneuve said, that he was like, he knows there's a woman problem in the movie.
A woman problem.
That there weren't enough women, so he found Liet Kynes being the perfect one to make a woman of color, because also there was huge problems in the last movie that everybody was white.
Yeah.
Like, literally everybody was white.
Yeah, at least on the surface. I mean, we haven't seen too much of the cast, but it does look like the Fremen are not white, at the very least.
Who is it playing?
Stilgar?
It's...
I don't know his name. I think he looks great, though.
The guy from No Country for Old Men.
I don't know movies.
Javier Bardem.
Javier Bardem. So they got a very southern tip, not named Latin American, Spaniard. So I mean, not necessarily going
Spaniard.
I don't remember where he's from. I don't. So I'm just struggling at the moment. Anyway, so I mean, at least they got someone of color. But I mean, they didn't really go Middle Eastern very heavy.
Yeah, like that's a problem. I feel like, right? That's like, I feel like that's probably a big problem, because I think it's easy to see a lot of Middle Eastern influence in this just from the get-go and stuff like that. And I was just like, white boy Timothy Chalamet coming to save these like brown people? Is that what is that this?
Here, I think that part of the like mindset that supposedly Frank Herbert was in when he like wrote about it was about the danger of like the savior who comes to save the day. Like that gets a little bit more into like the series, but that is one of the themes of the book, is that like the white person. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like the dangers of colonialism and stuff.
Yeah, and when he says like his terrible purpose, like really is, he's pretty terrible in the long term.
Yeah.
Not to spoil anything, but like
the second book's called Dune Messiah, if that gives you any.
Mm-hmm.
Is it like I was just gonna make a meme. Is it just like the meme where it's like you live long enough to see yourself become the villain kind of deal?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
100%. Like kind of spoiler alert, but that's like deep down. Yeah.
I mean, but he kind of just becomes a desert cryptid, doesn't he? He just descends into like cryptidness.
And let's not even go further.
Yeah.
He tries to avoid this terrible purpose, but yet falls into it.
Yeah.
I knew it. I was like,
Yeah.
hey, I was like, infected? That's a weird word to use there. I was like, I'm going to highlight it.
Well, even when he's talking to the Reverend Mother, when she's like, truth, why is he saying that? And then he goes like right into politics, and he goes, my mother didn't tell me that.
Mm-hmm. One thing, this is like, if I have one hot take about any of this, so getting a little bit spoilerly here. I mean, the book's been out for 80 years now almost, so it's not like there's any spoilers. So we all know that sandworms appear, and he's almost a Mary Sue in a way, but maybe like we'll get into that. Like, is he not? But anyways, part of the whole Dune planet is that there's these giant sandworms on Dune, and part of the way that you interact with these sandworms so you don't get caught by the sandworms is that you do not walk in a straight line with pattern. You have to like zigzag, walk without rhythm. Thank you. And I have a fucking bone to pick. And Sydney, so part of walking on the dunes is that you don't walk with rhythm. And on the cover, you see him walking in a straight fucking line. And that bugs me so much.
Dang.
That is so fucking petty. Like,
It
oh
really
my god. Like,
Okay, so here's the thing, Dan, like how long have we known each other now? Like a good 8, 9, 10 months. Am I anything if not petty? Like,
I think that's a valid point. I don't think it's petty.
It's a very valid point.
I don't know. I'm the one who checks.
I didn't notice that because I'm in Thailand, so I don't carry books. So I just have it on my iPad.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the one who texts Sid in the middle of the night going, I don't know if I'm petty or not, but
it's like it's like the House of Leaves thing where like if you don't know, you're like, what is this? But if you know, you're like, oh my god, I'm so angry.
That is a maddening book to read.
I get pretty upset about this, especially because this folds in, because then it means that either like one thing is still bigger than the. I hate it, anyways. So I know exactly how you feel. I may not understand yet, but I understand like books with higher meanings and symbolism and stupid ass shit like that.
I just wish, I think it's a beautiful cover, don't get me wrong, but I feel like whoever designed the book hadn't actually read it, and otherwise, I don't know, I hope I don't get this person fired, because you literally had one fucking job. And
you should be doing like a crab walk, right?
Yeah, and I think that's why, like, eventually in the story, man, I feel like we're going a little bit far down the rabbit hole with it, but anyways, they call him Little Mouse. Muad'Dib means little mouse in a Fremen language, and I think it's because of the way he's like knew to not walk without rhythm, to like scatter across the desert. So, anyways, I feel like that's my one. I know I'm gonna have a lot more bones to pick, but immediately,
this is the Berkeley Publishing Company under Ace, I think, which are all Penguin. Under Penguin. Yeah. Yes. It's the Berkeley cover. I actually really like
20 years.
I really like the look of all of them, and I like how they sit, and I think that they're a really good size. And I don't know, like, it's nice. I can't wait till we get to like the middle for my spine to start like breaking. I'm very excited for it to like start cracking.
Jim Tierney, I'm coming for you.
Yeah,
cover art by Jim Tierney. You had one job. I'm gonna go like find him
on Twitter.
Yeah. Sorry, dude. I'm coming for you.
I have a question about. I don't know if I'm like being too like high artsy and like pretentious about this, but like, so I know you, Dan, you mentioned that like at the start of each chapter they've got like this person, Princess,
Irulan.
yeah, Princess Irulan,
Yes.
I mean, I've only ever read it. This is one of my first times actually speaking about this in a public domain, so I'll probably mispronounce things. But
No,
I
it's
say
okay. I don't know either. I don't know how to pronounce things. And I'm supposed to gather that the Muad'Dib is
Paul.
who Paul will eventually be, right?
Did I
Yeah.
kind of spoil that by saying
No.
Okay.
It's okay. But like, so the Dune is a story that are we reading it like kind of in a like weird little like metatextual way where it's like it's a story we're seeing unfold because this is the history of it
I've always
way?
read it as this is Irulan's book about Paul.
Okay, that's the kind of I mean where it's like she wrote this book that's like basically the history of like this stupid guy.
And when we get introduced to this character, in my heart and head, I feel like she's one of the most tragic characters of this series.
I mean, I feel like from our perspective, yes, but from the perspective of like she's Bene Gesserit, like she has a part to play in all of this.
Yeah.
And she's just playing her part. I don't know if for her it's tragic. And she gets to, record this historical aspect of like this person.
But in Children of Dune, there's another character who may be the most tragic.
Oh, that's way
jumping the gun a bit there.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying series-wise. Although I had someone say Duke Leto was the most tragic, but
the Duke.
We'll get to chapter 2 because
the tragedy is that we don't get more of the Duke. That's the great tragedy of Dune.
Next chapter, all you're gonna hear is Sid
also,
just make her defense.
Oh boy.
I also like the really casual like mention of incest, like very briefly, very just like they would be going there.
How they would breed the
like
how they would breed the grandfathers or something.
Well, I don't know. It says on page 19, it says we might, for example, have wanted to breed her to a close relative to set up a dominant in some genetic trait, and we have many reasons.
But he's got that black hair, just like his daddy.
Yeah. And I was
like another throwback to Game of Thrones, like we're talking about Joffrey.
Ooh. I was just like, there's so much stuff packed in here that it's very interesting because like now that I'm in a book club, I'm like, okay, I have to sit down, I'm going to read it, and I'm going to like think a bit more critically than if I was just like, haha, I'm really like Oscar Isaac, he's going to be in this movie, let me read the book, kind of deal, which is very valid. But I think that's like, I don't think you could just approach Dune just being like, haha, I'm going to read a book. Like, bro, you're reading something people consider like a religion. Like, this is a lot.
It's quite academic, isn't it?
Those pictures with Oscar Isaac, all I saw was Sid go, oh my God, look at that. I'm smoldering, like, just impregnated me with this picture.
Oh, man.
It's real stuff there.
That slow blade.
Oh, the slow blade. I don't think this is a spoiler, but when we get more into a description of Duke Leto, they say this multiple times. They describe his face as like a hawk face. That's always stuck with me as being incredibly sexy. And I think Oscar Isaac, I don't think that there could be a casting that I would be happier with than Oscar Isaac.
We were laughing at when you did the story with he's got that BDE.
Oh, yeah. So I'm keeping a running list. I'm sad to announce that the first chapter only had one instance of Duke Leto's BDE. And that's when it's that comment from Thafir Hawat where he mentions that he's very popular in the Landsraad, and that's very dangerous because a popular man arouses the jealousy of the powerful.
Mm-hmm. That was a good line too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I think I'm gonna really like the political aspect of this because I really, really like scheming, and I like villains. Like, I love Dio Brando, and he's like probably one of the worst like villains in all of like anime and manga. He's just like a heinous person, and I love it. So like,
Oh, you'll love the parrot.
So I'm like because I'm assuming a lot of these characters are probably going to be very morally gray just from the setup of like, oh, terrible trait. Oh, I have to go to this place. Like, oh, we got like Arrakis. Is that how you pronounce?
I believe so.
Sure. Arrakis.
I think it's Arrakis. I've always pronounced it that way.
Arrakis.
Arrakis. And then like the Bene Gesserit, she was like, she was like, we didn't get it. And I was like, okay, ma'am. Like, so I'm like pretty excited because I see the seedlings of like things I'm very excited to like see. Like, I'm excited to see Paul be a terrible person. I'm excited to see what type of like political systems are in here because it made a mention of like houses, like House Aerides, I'm assuming, and like House Harkonnen,
Atreides, Carino are like the three major ones.
Yeah, and like they kind of just drop in like all of houses. I would assume would be like factions, kind of like way, like political factions, maybe. Yeah. And like all of that is like underneath these like Paul is sticking his hand in a box, like. I don't know.
I really needed a meme or someone to like Photoshop in or like edit in Brad Pitt when he's putting the hand up. What's in the box? What's in the box?
Can I
think I like highlighted that.
If I can share like one thing, and like I hope this is the perspective that like I'm going in reading this, like once I found it out. So the reason why Frank Herbert wrote this book is actually because and he was a native of the Pacific Northwest, and he went to the dunes here in Oregon, on the Oregon coast, and he was doing this article for I was going to say for a website. He was doing this article for a magazine or newspaper about how the ecological impact that the dunes had on the like the local ecosystem, as well as the like local neighborhoods there, and how the people and the governments were changing the landscape and like the ecosystem there. So he wrote this article about it, and it didn't even get published. Like the article was not very good, so they didn't publish it. And then he like imagined this whole dune planet. So like not only is it this big political book, but it's also like, I would say, think about it from like an ecological standpoint. Like think about the ecology or the landscape that you see in Dune, because that's truly like that's where it came from, is that he wrote this shitty article about the landscape, and then we got Dune.
And if you're looking for politics, Cinia, there is a political party, like a dinner party that goes on at one point, and they go into the social politics.
See, that's interesting to me. Sorry. No, you go, Jen.
That's good. Oh, and I was just going to say, like once again, this gets a little bit spoilerly as well, but with Lady Jessica too, and how like the Bene Gesserit, how like the Duke didn't take a wife, how he basically has his concubine, and the Bene Gesserit are there to control politics. Like that'll get into it, but yeah.
Yeah, I was actually going to say that like brings me to my next thing, because like it goes on to talk about like the truth sayers and like going into places like feminine and masculine pasts, and with the Bene Gesserit being like women mostly, and Paul would be one of the first to be like male, or is the first. I don't remember what exactly was the word used.
They've tested before,
with, like,
and have survived.
Oh yeah, because like the ending is like, oh, they've tried and died, because I highlighted that because I was pretty badass too. I was like, the social hierarchies of like females are really interesting to me, because they seem very powerful, and like there are a lot of like, it seems like a lot of important things are placed on women in the political sense and sphere, but then also like Lady Jessica is a concubine, and it seems like her worth is pretty like devalued and stuff like that, at least like from the initial readings, as if like she was like timid and not powerful, and like she would just that's what she is, and she has to like essentially be that role. So like I this is very complex already, and I'm like, is this? I don't know if I'm going to be mad about all of this. I feel like I probably will, but like I don't know. Does that make sense? I feel like I'm going like I feel like there's like I'm thinking so many things because there's like I feel like there's so many things we can look at and like just dissect this like. I'm sorry. I'm going on a rant.
No, you're right. I think it like overall Dune is a super complex interplay of politics and religion and resources, and like monopolies on something that everyone needs. And I think like gender roles within politics and within these things, within religion, is really interesting in Dune. Like the Bene Gesserit, like are running the show, right? Up until a certain point in the series that we all know. But like it is super interesting because yeah, I don't want to spoil anything, but you're right to think that like the gendered aspect of like the political and like religious thing like will be interesting in this book. Whether it'll make you mad or not, I don't know.
I think they basically said he couldn't marry her for political reasons, because she wasn't noble. But he could keep her as a concubine. It was...
And he truly loves her.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Oh, a love story.
Yeah.
we get all.
One of the things that like on this reread of just the first chapter, like I had this because like knowing a little obviously like what happens, but just from like the world building in the first chapter, like what do we know? We know that Paul, his dad, and Lady Jessica are moving from Caladan to Arrakis, the Dune planet. We know about a little bit about the Bene Gesserit, and that Paul's mom is a Bene Gesserit, and they're powerful politically. And then we know he's someone special, right?
They mentioned Chom, the Landstrat, Spacing Guild control, space travel, basically.
Yeah, and then a little bit with the jihad that had happened and how they don't basically don't make like robots, I guess. Like, is that, I don't know if that's necessarily what they're saying. They
train humans to think like robots, or to expand their brains to compute like robots.
Mentats or something.
Yes.
Yeah. So like those, I would say, like, what are the things that we know just from this first chapter? And like thinking how 20 something pages, is that how much? 20 pages exactly is what I have here. Like we know all of that just from the first chapter, which is kind of crazy, right?
Yeah.
So I think
that's a really
why
good rundown. Confusing. Yeah.
I think that's why it gets a little bit confusing, because like obviously like I get all that because I have the perspective of like the first novel and then later, so we do get that. But that's a lot to take in 20 freaking pages. So it's a lot. Yeah.
I wouldn't say they're embarrassed of their technology. I'd say they're afraid of certain technology.
Yeah, because they have like some technologies, like it seems like later on they have like movies and stuff, but they don't have like traditional computers in a sense. But there's like not, I wouldn't necessarily say like steampunk technology, but there's a lot of technology that's not computer driven, that it's more like mechanical and not, I don't know, like thinking machines, I guess.
What are those?
Sorry, go ahead.
This is so not important. I'm sorry. You know those little floaty balls that like hold up the Baron and like hold up the chairs?
Yes, and stuff? The anti-grav.
What are they called? It's not important.
I don't remember. I was gonna say, like, reading it this time, the tension of the Gom Jabbar scene was way more intense to me than I remembered, and even more so than the movie, because of Paul having the showdown kind of with the Reverend Mother, and he starts back talking her.
It gets a little spicy, yeah.
And her saying, "If you twitch, I am not old enough that I can't penetrate your neck, and it will kill you. I guarantee you, it will kill you."
Which I think it's funny that she even said that anyway, like her being old has any bearing on her being a Bene Gesserit Reverend Mother. Like we've all read Chapter House. She could kill any one of us. She is not old.
I feel like in the David Lynch movie, the tension in that scene was almost sexual. Like it was almost like orgasmic for her to be like, at least maybe that was my projecting whatever, that there's snow on the mountaintop, but there's fire in the valley for Reverend. But anyways, I feel like almost the opposite thinking about that scene is that it's dialed back from the movie. Like it's more of a subtle intensity rather than like whatever's going on in that box of hers. But I feel like I could. What's that?
Phrasing.
Yeah. But when I reread this, and I because I just read that, is it Empire the magazine? Because I just read that article. There was a picture of Paul in what looks like a library, and she's sitting there. And as I'm reading this first chapter and reading that scene, I can see it, and I feel like I can almost see like how that scene is going to play out. And that's why I'm so glad that I'm rereading this, that we're rereading it, and that the movie is going to come out, because I feel like I'm ready to see this visually and not just in my head.
Well, the trailer that drops on the 9th, that scene's
Wednesday. So
she's like, hold
on. Well, because do we know when it's dropping? Like what time zone?
Usually it's about 1 p.m. Eastern that they drop, so 10 a.m. Pacific. They seem to always drop around that time.
10 a.m. on Wednesday, your time?
Oh no, Pacific time, Jen's time, 1 p.m. Time. So it'd be about almost midnight for you for Thursday.
1 p.m. for you, Dan.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's midnight for me tonight.
So yeah, whatever. It'll be Thursday, I guess, turning Thursday for you. So Jen and I promised we're not going to watch it until we get home to stream it, which is going to be difficult, very, very difficult.
I know I'm going to have like 100 people message me about it, because as soon as like the pictures got released, as soon as the teaser got released, I had people like messaging me on every single platform about it. And I'm like, thank you. Like, I don't care if you're the 100th person to tell me this. Like, thank you. I love it.
Well, as soon as I got the teaser, that bootleg of it, was like, Jen, Sid, here you go. Like, I throw my hands up. I watched it. Derailed Jen's day. Sid's just like, I need better quality. But I saw my Duke.
I saw my Duke. So when are you guys going to stream it? I'm so confused about when this thing is dropping.
It drops for us Wednesday morning and afternoon.
Yeah, I'm literally going to do it right before I go into work. So it's going to be like 8:30 my time, 5:30 Jen's time.
Yeah, so even if I have to do it like on my walk home from work or something, then, maybe 6 o'clock my time at the latest. But yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm just here for a good time.
It was funny because when I started reading this chapter, I was like, this is a not entertaining chapter. Like, it's because it's so short. I was like, we're not going to get much of a show out of this. But
and
then
here we are almost an hour later.
But then, like, it's like on Jabbar, so like there's a lot going on in this. So
there is so much. So when I read that scene and like him sticking his hand like in the box, it like reminded me of like the symbiotes from like Hellraiser, like with their box and like their box of chains and stuff like that. I don't know why, but it reminded me of that because there's like a green glowing aura, I think, that's like emanating from like the box or something like that.
Oh, what if
and to the fact that she like
show you so many.
And the fact that she's like, yeah, and then actually she's like, I'll fucking stab you, kid. I don't give a shit. And I was like, interesting because like it was only 20 pages, but I just feel that Frank's writing style is like it's not like flowery in the sense that like it's like beautiful writing, but I feel like it's very like it like flows very organically. Like he has a very clear idea of like who these people are and like what world they live in, that like way that they talk and like the way that he describes things is like it makes sense, but like we don't know yet. And it's like that puzzle like unraveling and like stripping and like as we it's to me it reminds me of like as you learn more the less you know, because you have like 20 more questions for the one answer type of deal.
A thimble on the finger with a needle. How he describes what the Gamja bar is fascinating.
Is that what it says? Like in the
Yeah, it's
in
basically a thimble. It's weird because like he talks about politics the way George R. R. Martin talks about food.
Sexy food with George R. R. Martin. Like someone told me that one time with George R. R. Martin. Like I can't read those books. Like there's too much sex and violence. Like his sex scenes are just like too much. And I'm like, first of all, have you seen that man? He loves food. Second of all, read the book. You can tell he loves food. Like he wants to fuck that food. It's sexy food in those books.
American Pie was about George R. R. Martin.
100%. Like he talks about like Sansa wanting those lemon cakes, and man, like he goes in on that food.
So when you write your book, it'll be about pub subs.
Pub subs. Oh my god, pub subs and Nice Guys Pizza in Cape Coral. Man, I miss that.
I miss Nice Guys. Ugh.
That General Tso's pizza, I would stab someone for General Tso's pizza right now.
That sounds good.
It's very good. It's very, very good.
I could go for a pub sub.
Yeah, we had an episode where it degraded into like what our favorite pub sub was and what bread.
Yeah, that 5 grain, man. That 5 grain is where it's at.
So next episode we'll be on chapter 2 where we get more characters thrown at us with not a whole lot.
Tighter.
Yes, we get Duke Leto. We meet the Carinos. Princess Irulan, who is writing the book.
Is she in the second chapter?
She is, because I think that's the party.
She's hardly in the book at all.
But
I feel like we could easily do the next 3 chapters, because the next chapter, from what I'm seeing here, is like less than 15 pages. And then the next one is all of 10 pages. And then even the next one after that.
We have Peter in this.
I wanted to tell Sydnia, I don't know if this will influence her reading of it, but do you guys remember the villain from the Powerpuff Girls, him? Like, oh, that's how I imagine Piter's voice every time I read it. Oh no!
I actually
I think it fits. He's like, oh, Baron.
Here's the little finger.
Yeah. Cheeky. He's like, you won't kill me yet, Baron. Oh.
Someone had done an overdub of Irulan from the sci-fi movie, and they did her with Velma's voice with Jinkies. What are we gonna do?
But yeah, Jen, I think we can do several chapters. I'm fine with that.
Because even like and I lost count here, but even
Sydney,
getting to page like in mine, like there's literally 4 chapters, and that goes over the next 40 pages. So I feel like we could easily do the next 4 chapters even. I mean, I don't know
let's keep it like not 3? Let's not overburden ourselves.
Yeah.
But we'll still be jumping enough, because the first book, as they call it, is 252 pages.
Yeah.
So
yeah, literally 3 chapters is another 20 pages. I think that's so. Yeah, We
So
were
do
just
you watch-
talking about.
do you watch Powerpuff Girls?
Me? What did you say? Powerpuff Girls?
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
Okay,
What do you mean?
so Sid was just describing. There's
Yeah,
a character.
you
coming
remember
up.
from Powerpuff Girls, the villain, him?
Oh yeah. I got my
So-
look on my phone.
Buttercup's my favorite one. Good choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
She's my favorite.
she's like the sporty spice of the Powerpuff Girls. But you know how him talks like, "Oh, Powerpuff Girls." That's how I imagine in the next chapter you get this Mentat assassin guy named Piter DeVries, I think. That's how he speaks in my head, like him.
I love
So I
that.
want to read him like that.
Did we decide we're reading only chapter 2, or are we gonna also do chapter 2 and chapter 3?
Total 40 pages.
That's not bad. Okay, cool.
So
I was
we're gonna
gonna
do
say
2, 3, 4.
2, 3, and 4. Okay. Sweet.
Should be pretty easy to do in a week. There will be a pop quiz. Just kidding.
unless like most
Okay.
of us, we read it the day of, like
Yeah.
I did.
Oh
read
yeah,
I
I
did it.
read.
too. Yeah.
I read it today too. Yeah.
Gambit was supposed to join us, and I think he got shamed because he was like, "Well, don't announce it because if I don't show up, I don't want anybody to be disappointed." So he didn't read it.
Gambit, if you see this, I'm disappointed.
I think he
It
was
was only
tattooing.
20 pages.
I think he
Only
was
20
tattooing today.
pages.
So I can't. If he's earning money, I can't really.
A convenient excuse.
And we have the Black Monday Murders episode coming up at some point. Once I get that up, well, figure out a date to do that. It's either going to be a Monday or Tuesday. But since we're already doing a stream on a Monday, it's going to have to be a Tuesday because priorities.
Yeah.
And I have it tattooed now. Black Monday Murders.
I know I saw it. It looks so good.
Can't really see it from here, but
Yeah, the
it's healing.
placement's really nice as well.
Yes. And I got to see Andrew, which was nice. And he complained about how I don't get tattoos from him anymore.
Yeah, fair complaint.
It is. He doesn't do flesh tones either anymore. He stopped doing that.
Oh,
To let me know that. Anyway, it was really great to have everybody on here talking about this book and finally getting Sid on here after talking about her for what feels like a long, long time.
I think it's fitting that it was Duke Leto that finally brought me onto a stream.
I think shout you out almost every episode or mention you every episode.
Yeah.
It's about to become a
It's
drinking
true.
game.
Sid's supremacy.
So, Cinia, on this first read and reading it now with us, is it a better read for you now, or are you still conflicted?
Oh yeah, because I was like not to be like TMI, but I was totally planning on like horny reading because I don't know what I expected, but I was like, oh, Timothy Chalamet, like Oscar Isaac, like Josh Brolin. I was like, oh, cool. Like, is it like hot sci-fi like warrior shit? And then I like read the first 60 pages and I was like, bro, I don't know half these words. I don't know who these people are. I was like, this spice thing is like currency or something. I was like, I don't know. And there's witches involved. They're not called witches, but I'm pretty sure that's what they are. And they're kind of scary. And I was like, there's just like too much going on. And I was like, not in like the headspace for it. But like now that like I feel very like blessed where it's like, oh yes, I'm being hugged by like Dune lovers. So like it like makes me feel good because it's like if I'm confused, it's like I know I got like one of you three to like answer whatever question I have. And it's fun to buddy read. I love to buddy read. So it's like
when you tweeted about your experience with Dune, I like screen capped and sent to Jen. I was like, uh-oh, Jen. She's like, I feel horrible because I feel like I made her read this book.
no, don't feel bad because it's like I literally was like, oh, Oscar Isaac's hot and he's in this movie. So like I have to read it. Like that was like my mindset. And I just don't think I was like prepared at all for what Dune was and how you should kind of think about Dune. It's not like, oh, Game of Thrones or anything like that, where you can kind of just like jump into like fantasy and like you get all of these things. It's a lot. So I'm excited to read it with other people, so I could say like, yeah, I did that. It's also like a nice chunky book. I haven't read like a nice chunky book in a while.
It's weird because Timothy Chalamet has quite a following. I never knew existed like it did until like I started looking for the Dune trailer, and I see Timothy Chalamet fan page something Timothy Chalamet. I want his child as their names.
The only thing I know.
Movie.
Yeah, I was like, who's this like gaunt looking like freaking white kid? And then I like talked to people. I was like, do you know who this guy is? And people were like, oh, like the guy who spread like chlamydia at NYU. And I was like, wait, what? And like he went to NYU and was doing a bunch of stuff, I guess. So like that was like my first like foray into like the world of Timothy Chalamet. It's like then I was like, nah, that's not true. So like I went on to Stan Twitter to be like, what's up with this guy? And then like all these like Stan pages for him. And I was like, this is really like strange. And I was like, I went down a rabbit hole of like, who is this guy? Like, what's he been in? And he was like in what, like Lady Bird with like Greta Gerwig or whatever, and stuff
Call
like
Me
that.
by Your Name was the one.
Call
he
Me
got
by
an
Your
Oscar
Name.
for.
Oh yeah. And then I was like mad because like one of my favorite like Sufjan Stevens songs is like for that movie, but like I was like, I'm not gonna watch this movie. And I was just like, I don't understand like who this kid is. But then I saw him in like the like in the Dune trailer with like this like really, really angular like armor suits. Like same with like Duke Leto, like Oscar Isaac, and I was like, I stan Timothy Chalamet now, I guess.
All I know is Jim was like, that beard is just making Oscar Isaac smolder.
Oh man.
Oh
man.
Love him.
But I will say, I think I don't know anything about Timothy Chalamet. I've never seen him in anything, so I can't speak for his personality or acting ability whatsoever. But I do think just his physical appearance, for me, does kind of work for Paul. First of all, because he's 15 and Timothy Chalamet is a small man. And I think Paul is, for me, is meant to be a little off-putting. Like he's this young, like very intense, small child that like acts like an adult, speaks like an adult.
Very intense looking.
Yeah, and he does kind of look like, I don't know what the word for it is. He's got a look about him.
I would say a very stoic, like 15-year-old.
Yeah.
Like he does, like he has adult features, but he's still like a baby face.
Yeah, like strangely
very
intense features.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I was worried they would cast somebody too old, like Michael Fassbender or something, where it's just like, okay.
I love Michael Fassbender.
Have you watched Shame?
But he would. Have I watched what?
Shame.
Should I?
If you want to see his giant Fassbender.
Oh wait, is that? I haven't seen that movie, but I've seen Daddy
I've seen
Fassbender.
Those screenshots. Yeah, we've seen those screenshots.
Yeah, of course. I've seen Magneto. I've seen Magneto without the helmet on.
Oh man, so I want one of those robots.
Started on Magneto.
I want a Michael Fassbender android from those new Alien movies.
Ooh, yes, please.
I want one of those.
Same.
The David on David action that they had in Covenant, where the two Fassbenders made out.
I welcome our robot overlords.
Wow. Oh. I forget who is playing Lady Jessica, but I loved her in the Mission Impossible movies.
I can't like visualize her from anything, but I know that this will probably stand out.
Oh, she was in that movie with Ewan McGregor, the Dr. Sleep.
Oh.
She was the Hat. She was the one that was eating kids.
Oh, I tried to watch that movie, but I remember her.
All right, well, I think this is pretty much, I'd say we're at a good stopping point.
Yeah.
Sid, it was an absolute pleasure having you on finally after months and months. I know these two were happy to meet you after me going on and on and on about you.
Yeah,
especially after
digitally meet you guys.
Especially after our Alan Moore exchange. Like, that was one of the happiest like moments of my life. So thank you for that.
I told Dan, I was like, she's punny. She's a punny one.
I told her, and she's like, it was just the most beautiful exchange I've ever had with anybody. And I was like, what? And then she showed me a screenshot. I was like, oh God, I'm groaning at these puns. Like they're bad.
Oh, they were so good. They were so good.
They were pretty good.
Cinia, they can find you at Cinia Reads, and But Why Though, and podcasts.
Everywhere.
How often
everywhere. So basically weekly. We've recorded 4 or 5 episodes already. So like we have like that like a backlog, and then like episode 1 will be published probably sometime next week because I just paid for the audio files to be edited and stuff like that. But then yeah, I will have a weekly podcast. When it's up, I'll let you guys know.
Don't you dare do more without Jen and I. Because we have much to say. Sid, you're pretty much private on your account, so find her here on Mondays.
Find me on my Twitter's not private or anything.
Oh, I thought that was private.
Mm-mm.
It's Cartoon Sid. She's here for your anime and hot Dune memes. And by hot, like funny, Duke Leto, little everything, little social justice here and now.
I have some Dune memes I'm gonna send you then, if that's okay.
Yes,
because I got some
me
hot spicy ones.
There's a Twitter account that's just Dune memes.
Dang Dune memes.
Yeah, it's like sometimes it's very hit or miss, but when they hit, they do hit.
Yeah, there was a couple that you posted. I was like, that's fucking fantastic. Like,
yeah, some of them are really good. Some of them, it's like, it's good effort.
It was funny. Like, someone had said, how did Adam Driver not get Paul's job? Get Paul Atreides?
Too old. And I think
that would be a terrible casting.
Yeah.
But with the, like, intense look.
He's, like, about 6'2" tall, first of all.
True. Just facially, that intense, like, and kind of emo.
I love Adam Driver.
All right.
I really appreciate Adam Driver, but I feel like he may. I don't know, but I have like a theory that whenever you like sign on to do something like Star Wars and you're playing like a main character in Star Wars, like, is there a clause that you sign where you're like you're not allowed to play another like franchise person? Because I feel like maybe that was even why they wouldn't cast him in that, is because like Star Wars main character, you wouldn't be able to play Dune main character.
You got Oscar Isaac. Or is he not a main character in your eyes?
According to fucking Star Wars.
Yeah, that's so much to unpackage. No, but I feel like a lot of actors, because I know that I read a lot of like interviews and stuff like that, just because I find interviews really interesting. I think a lot of like Daniel Radcliffe, Robert Pattinson, like Willem Dafoe or like Bill Murray and stuff like that. But like once you're like in really, really iconic movies, you almost get like exhausted by like being in big franchises. So it seems like a lot of actors just don't want to like go through that again, where they're like, I paid my dues, I'm gonna like do indie movies and then I'll go back to doing blockbusters.
I can see that. I mean, he mostly seems to do indie movies anyway.
Yeah.
So, and Jennifer, you're doing. I know you had some for Patreon you were going to post.
Well, I was working on a video yesterday, and that did not work out very well at all. So I have some like bloopers that I posted on my Patreon. So for as little as $2 a month, you can get just funny little bloopers from me. as well as comic book reviews. It's more than just bloopers. You can get comic book reviews and stuff from me. So you can find me on Instagram at Comic Books Will Break Your Heart. Here on the YouTubes, it's Comics Will Break Your Heart. And then my Patreon, you can find me on there doing whatever weird shit I do. And then on we do Comic Shop News, Longback's Paradox
every
stuff.
Saturday now at 5:30. And once a month
we do that weekly.
Ink Panels Book Club with Gambit, because that's all we can get him for. And it was my pick this month. We're doing Jonathan Hickman's Black Monday Murders. If you like Wall Street and Satanism, have we got a book for you?
And like a crime mystery type stuff. So
little bit. And like we say for our weekly show, you come for the comic reviews, you stay for the random talk, and usually I get insulted at some point, or Jen gets insulted, or we bicker like we are siblings, or people come in and just start shit. That's for you, Sanimation, if you're watching.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you for that, Sanimation.
You're a shit stirrer.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it a lot.
Oh,
all right, Dan. Where can the people find you, Dan?
You can find me at comic_chop_news, and that is on Instagram, or you can find me on my Twitter account that is like barely visible, and that's at Chop Comic, because my other one is private, and I'd like to keep it that way. Although people have found me on there still, and that's kind of disturbing.
The internet.
Yeah, interwebs, just those things. And thank you, everybody, for watching, your support, and interacting. This was an episode we didn't really interact with the chat too much, and I apologize for that, but we're kind of a lot of spinning plates here. I'm not going to spin plates, though. I can't do that. Just break plates. Mm-hmm. So thank you. So long, farewell, Avita, goodbye, and the spice must flow.
See you next week, friends.
Bye.